Hey traders, it's Reed from Shift to Alpha. And if you're a funded prop firm trader who keeps switching strategies after inconsistent results, this video is made for you. And real quick, if you don't have a strategy that produced real funded profits before, if you've never been funded, or if you're looking for a strategy with an edge, stop here. Go find that first. Because what I'm about to say is for the trader who already has a strategy that works, but can't stop micro tweaking it or switching it. The trader who finds a setup, backtests it, gets excited, trades it live for a week, and it's working. Then 3 losses in a row hit, and the doubt starts to creep in. Maybe this doesn't work in this market. Maybe I need a tighter confirmation. Maybe this isn't the right time frame to trade on. So you tweak the strategy, then you tweak it again. Then you scrap it entirely and start looking for the next one. 3 months later, you're in the exact same spot. New strategy, same results, same drawdown, same frustration. And at some point, you start wondering to yourself, is it even possible to make consistent money trading? Because here's what happens. The brain misinterprets standard probabilistic drawdowns as immediate existential threats, forcing premature strategy abandonment before the mathematical edge of your strategy ever normalizes over a large sample of trades. So here's what nobody's telling you when it comes to this. For the majority of funded traders that we at Shift to Alpha have talked to, the strategy was never the problem. They weren't strategy hoppers. They were undiagnosed emotional traders. And there's a massive difference between the two. A strategy hopper doesn't have a strategy with an edge. They're searching for one. An undiagnosed emotional trader has an edge, but their emotions keep disguising execution failures as a strategy failure. So they keep solving the wrong problem. And that misdiagnosis is costing them thousands in challenge fees, thousands of dollars paying new mentors to teach them new strategies, resulting in months of wasted time and a growing belief that they just can't do this. When the truth is, they were closer than they ever realized before they ever switched or touched their strategy. Let me show you how this actually works inside your brain. Any strategy with a real edge, let's say it wins 55% of the time with solid risk to reward ratio. That means 45% of your trades are going to lose. And those losses don't come in a clean alternating pattern like win-loss, win-loss. They come in streaks. They come randomly. You might win 7 trades in a row, then lose 4 in a row, then win 2, then lose 3. The 55% only shows up over a span of 100, 200, 300 trades on a trade-by-trade basis. That outcome is random. But here's the problem. Your brain doesn't think in spans of 300 trades. It thinks in the span of 3 trades. And the reason this is because of working memory. It prioritizes recency bias, heavily overweighting the last 3 outcomes to predict immediate future threats, ignoring long-term statistical logic. Our brain wasn't meant to only look at and only consider the long-term statistical edge of our strategy. So what does this mean? So when you hit a losing streak, which is statistically guaranteed to happen with any strategy, your survival system activates. Multiple losses in a row registers as pain. Your stress hormones elevate. Your brain starts scanning for the source of danger so it can eliminate it. And what's the easiest thing to blame? It's your strategy. This setup doesn't work. I need better confirmations. Let me add another indicator. Because high cortisol levels, which happens when you're trading in high stress environments, it inhibits prefrontal cortex function, which is your decision-making part of your brain, forcibly shifting decision-making from objective statistical logic to immediate pain avoidance. So in other words, every tweak to your strategy is your brain trying to make randomness feel controllable, trying to manufacture certainty in a market that is uncertain. And now you've got a modified strategy you haven't tested, one you have no data on. You've gone from a setup you knew had a statistical edge to something unproven, all because of 3 losses that were statistically inevitable. That's not a strategy decision. That's your emotions running the show, disguised as a technical decision. And this is where it gets expensive. Data from FPFX, it shows the average funded trader spends over $4,000 on prop firm challenges alone. Not on education, not on coaching, not on buying another strategy, just on the challenge fees alone. Because this is the cycle. A trader fails the funded account. They blame the strategy. They switch the strategy. They buy a new challenge. They trade the new strategy without enough data. They hit a losing streak. They blame that strategy. They switch again. They buy another challenge over and over and over. Or it could look like a trader trading the strategy they already have, and then they have a few bad days in the market and they start tweaking their strategy so that the losses they incurred would have been wins. And they keep tweaking the strategy to the point to where they have a completely different strategy that they 100% changed from the original strategy with back-tested data that had an edge to now something they can't even recognize in the live market. And this happens over and over. And the trader believes they're getting closer to the answer because each new strategy feels like progress. But they're not getting closer at all. They're just rotating the same emotional problem through different technical solutions. That's like replacing your car's engine every time you crash, when the engine was never the issue. The issue is the driver. And until you diagnose the driver, no strategy will ever feel like it's enough. So what do you really need? You need to separate your strategy's real performance from your emotional interference. Because right now, those two things are merged into your trading profit and loss. You're looking at your overall win rate, let's say it's 42%, and you're concluding your strategy isn't good enough. But that 42% isn't your strategy's number. It's your strategy plus your emotions combined into one blurry metric. And the key idea is you cannot optimize a technical strategy while the primary variable causing the loss is untracked emotional interference. And there's a really simple equation that we love to run through with traders. And the equation is strategy win rate minus emotional tax equals real world win rate. Your strategy win rate is what happens when you execute perfectly. Clean trades only, no deviation. Your emotional tax is the percentage of profits that vanish because of fear, hesitation, revenge, FOMO, or any deviation from the plan. And your real world win rate is what you actually take home. When a funded trader actually sees this separation for the first time, the number is usually staggering. They realize their strategy wins at a high enough rate to be consistently profitable when they execute it cleanly. But their emotional interference is eating a massive percentage of what they should be making. So the strategy was never broken. They were trying to fix a Ferrari's engine with the real problem was the driver's emotional interference. And every dollar they spent on a new strategy, every challenge fee, every time they had to reset was unnecessary. That realization hits hard, but it's also the most freeing thing a funded trader can discover because it means they were closer to consistent profitability than they ever thought. They just kept starting over and over instead of finishing what they already has. And here's something that's very important for us to note. The brain releases dopamine when acquiring new strategies, creating a neurochemical addiction to starting over rather than finishing. That's why we literally call these people at Shift to Alpha strategy addicts, because your brain starts to fall in love with the idea that buying new strategies means that profitability is on the way, when that couldn't be further from the truth. And the risk here is discarding a highly profitable, robust edge simply because an untracked emotional tax is disguised it as a losing system. That's very dangerous. That's why every trader, you need to run through the equation that we went over so you can understand your emotional tax. Because if it's untracked, then it's always going to make your trading disguised as something that it's not. It's not a losing system. You just have an emotional tax that you're not aware of. Now, the full process of separating strategy performance from emotional interference, identifying your specific break, impulse, self-sabotage patterns, and building an execution system around the strategy you already have that protects your edge, that's not a 10-minute exercise, and we simply can't go over that in one YouTube video. But that's what we build inside the Shift to Alpha program over 90 days. Personalized data driven, built around your specific trading data. But there's one shift most funded traders can make right now that will immediately change how they see their own results. Stop trying to fix your strategy before you've isolated the real variable. What you need is an execution audit, a way to separate edge from emotional deviation. Look at a meaningful sample of your recent trades and be brutally honest. Was that a clean execution, or did you drift somewhere else? Your entry, your size of the trade, your stop loss, your profit target, your patience. Because the core truth here is that this is not a test of character. It is pure, unemotional data extraction designed to locate the exact point of execution failure. Because remember, if you don't know the problem, you cannot fix it. That's going to leave you chasing solutions. That's not the key. We're wasting a lot of money and a lot of time in the process. We see it happen all the time. No shame. Nobody's watching you. This isn't a character test. It truly is only data. Then here's the key. Judge your performance only on your clean executed trades. Because if your clean trades are consistently profitable with reasonable risk to reward, your strategy has an edge, period. You don't need a new strategy. You need a psychologically defensible way to stay inside the strategy you already have. So let me bring this home. If you've been through 3, 5, 10 strategies in the last year, and you're still in the same place, or you've been micro tweaking your strategy for the last 12 months and it still hasn't gotten you the results that you look for, the strategy was never the problem. You're not a strategy hopper. You're an undiagnosed emotional trader. And until you separate your strategy's real performance from your emotional interference, you'll keep rotating the same problem through different setups and wondering why nothing sticks. The path forward isn't more strategy. It's less emotion in your execution. Run the execution audit. Isolate your clean trades. Let the data tell you what is actually going on. Because once you see the real numbers, you realize you were closer to consistency than you ever thought. Your brain isn't broken. You don't have a character flaw that makes you an impatient trader. Your strategy probability isn't broken either. You've just been diagnosing the wrong thing this whole time. And breaking the cycle, it requires implementing protocols that physically shift control from the reactive sympathetic nervous system back to the analytical prefrontal cortex. And this is important because there's a performance risk here. Continuing this diagnostic error guarantees permanent unprofitability and maximum psychological burnout. So many traders, when they have come to us, they're burnt out from trading. They're mad. They're frustrated. They don't understand because they know their strategy works, but they're not seeing that in the live market. And this is exactly why. This error guarantees permanent unprofitability and maximum psychological burnout. So comment one word, misdiagnosed. And if you're funded, comment how many strategies that you've actually gone through in the last 12 months. Or comment how many times you micro-tweaked your strategy in the last 12 months. And if it's too many times, just say the last 6 months. And be completely honest, no judgment. Because in the next video, we plan to break down why you always know what to do, but can't do it when it counts. And what the execution gap actually looks like from a brain and nervous system level. But more importantly, what can we as traders do about it? That's the piece that most trading educators won't touch. Always remember, you're only one small shift to alpha.